This video demonstrates 3 case studies to test our system for recommending affective color palettes. Case 1. Predicting colors individually for each affective category. In our scenario, users select initial color samples, and the system proposes the coming candidate colors that compose a color palette. Specifically, in this case, the users first specify the intended affective category before selecting color samples. The system then proposes candidate colors by referring to the scores of the color samples for the specified affect only, irrespective of the other affective categories. Thus, this case is equivalent to a conventional approach for predicting preferred colors using the matrix-based recommendations. Since the affect positive primarily constitutes colors of warm hues and high saturation, color samples such as red and orange are likely to be recommended. But, the predicted color palette also contains an unwanted dark gray color in this case. The unwanted color suggestion also occurs for disturbing. The color palette mainly consists of dark colors but unexpectedly contains a light pink color. The preferred colors for trustworthy are widely distributed over the color space, and thus, the recommendations depend on the initial color choices. If the recommendation system takes warm colors as initial choices, it faithfully reproduces highly saturated colors as the next candidates. This case illustrates the results of conventional recommendation systems and serves as the baseline for comparison with our proposed approach. Case 2. Predicting colors taking all affective categories into account. We are now ready to take full advantage of the tensor-based approach to respect the trends in color choice for all affective categories. In this case, the users are asked to select their preferred color samples for multiple affective types at once. For the affect positive, a recommendation system can fully respect the trend of initially selected colors while excluding unwanted dark colors at the same time. As for disturbing, our system successfully limited the proposed colors to dark colors, compared with the previous results. For trustworthy, the system kept a well-balanced distribution in candidate colors that fully matched with color samples selected in an early stage. Thus, we can collect warm colors if orangish colors are selected as the initial samples. On the other hand, if we initially provide green as the reference, our system recommends greenish and bluish colors to compose the color palette. This comparison exposes the superiority of the tensor-based approach because we can fully retain the overall trends in the color choices for the 8 affective categories. The color choices of the other affective categories, in this case, help us predict even further decisions. Suppose that we look for a color palette for trustworthy once we provide warm colors as the samples for positive and exciting. Here, the system yields relatively warm and vivid colors for the potential palette of trustworthy. Conversely, let us try to suggest blue colors as initial samples for disturbing and calm. Now the system produces different colors, including light blue and green, even for the same affective category trustworthy. We can combine these two setups to compose the color palette for trustworthy. In practice, we can obtain the mixture of the previous 2 color sets as the color palette recommendation. This observation clarifies that we can successfully make sound recommendations that respect the underlying trends of color preference for all the affective categories. Case 3. Predicting colors while inferring the corresponding affective category. We can also employ the tensor-based approach to infer the corresponding affective category from the preliminary selection of color samples. By taking initially selected color samples, our system tries to guess the corresponding affective type. By collecting vivid colors to compose the color palette, the system presumes that it is best matched with the affective category positive. If we change some of the color samples, the system changed the decision to playful. Actually, the system updates the sorted list of affective types whenever it takes a new color sample as input. Note that the system displays the list of inferred affective modes in ascending order of error, where each error value is parenthesized in the column. A palette of reddish colors will result in the affect existing. Per this update, the system also provides a set of next candidate colors for the identified affective category. If we begin by selecting dark colors, the corresponding palette is judged as disturbing. Collecting light low saturated colors allows us to find the color palette for calm. We can compose the color palette for trustworthy by taking greenish color samples. In this way, our approach facilitates identifying the affective category that best match the set of selected colors in each stage of the color palette composition.